Welcome to the Super Profit Friends. 15 minutes long, because you're an entrepreneur and you've got a business to run.
I did it before I hit record. Coming at you. And we're back for another episode of Super Profit Friends, SPF 15 podcast. Today we are on episode 10 talking about time management. And
we're all clinking our glasses.
We're clinking glasses. Everyone except Zach Keith, who is not here because he is
in Connecticut. Right.
For a business thing.
Totally the last episode.
Doing business stuff.
Last one. Yeah,
I know, right?
I'm a little concerned about how much that's punching. Let me just look
very
into that.
loud.
We're not that loud. Okay, never mind. We're fine.
Okay, cool.
I'm actually drinking 4 Zach Keith. I have.
You got 2 cups. That's great.
Dual cups, bro.
Dual cups.
Yeah. Double
cupping.
Yeah.
All right. So, the last episode, the last episode, we talked about goal setting. This episode, we're talking about time management. So we're kind of going in order from goal setting. Once you have your goals set, how do you manage your time to achieve those goals? But also, how can you best manage your time to achieve the other things that, at least in the beginning, are things that you need to do within your own business, like handling emails and things like that.
Yeah, so one of the things that I hear in the industry, I'm going to steal this
This
one
is the Walter podcast.
This is like time management.
Whenever anyone wants to butt in, just start talking.
Make sure you raise your hand if you have something to say.
This will go. But this will be valuable for all of us, right?
Oh my God, absolutely.
Time management, if you can change it from time management to priority management, right? Because, again, it starts with your business plan, which you locked into your goals, and then from your goals you broke them down, and now you know your priorities, and you just make time for your priorities, right? Like if you have a friend wants to go do something, and then you know you got to go quote that job, it's a priority. It's not like, oh man, I got to find time to fit this in. It's, dude, tell your friend, like, no, I've got to go quote this job first because it's a priority. I got to pay the bills. I got my guys to do. And then I can go see you because that's a priority, right? It's just so many people, especially entrepreneurs, they get into the business, they quit their job, and then their mom asks them, hey, can you come over and help me with this? I know you're at home, you're not doing anything, right? It's
that's the most painful
I'm at home, like, trying to build my business, Mom.
I hate that. I hate that. As a writer, I used to get that a lot too, where it was like people would think that, oh, you're an author, you do that as a hobby, and it's like, no, man, that's my job. That's what I like. It's not just a game to me. So you have to, especially like what you just said, like if you're leaving your job to run your own business, you can't let people disrespect your time. Like that's your time to run your business. You have to make that clear to them. Be like, I'm not doing nothing. Like, I'm working from this time to this time. Nobody can have me until I am done.
And then the next side of that is how much is your time worth, right? How much is your actual time worth? And prioritize based on that. Are you still cleaning your floor? Are you still washing your own clothes? Are you still cutting your own grass? Like, that's stuff that you can hire somebody $10 an hour. I drop off my laundry every 2 weeks, and it costs me $25, and she does it all. It takes her 3 hours. It comes back to me folded, like clean, dried, folded. That takes her 3 hours. For $25, that's less than $10 an hour, right? Do the math. It's like, is that worth my time when I know I'm supposed to be worth $200 an hour?
That's
awesome.
Easy. No brainer.
That's now a priority. Like, boom! Why would I ever spend 3 hours that I could be quoting clients or calling customers or doing a training or going out and doing 3 hours is a whole shoot, right?
3 hours is 3 shoots.
That's 3 shoots. Yeah. So you start doing the math and you're like, laundry is the devil. Like, I shouldn't do this. And all the women are like, sorry, never doing laundry again. Click. But really, and the guy shouldn't be cutting the grass. If you can pay a guy $40 to cut your grass, and cutting the grass takes, you got to rake, you got to trim all that's 3 hours gone, then that's like $12 an hour or $15 an hour. You can pay somebody to do that, And you could have, in those 3 hours, gone out and made that extra sale, made those extra calls, built the website that we were talking about in the last one. You've done something in those 3 hours. So it's prioritizing, what am I worth? How many hours a week am I going to work? And how much dollar do I have to make per hour every hour that I'm working, right? You don't have to work 60, 70 hours a week if you're being paid $200 an hour. Do the $200 an hour tasks. And if you're somebody who in your previous job was making $12 an hour, well, up it to maybe now you do $20 an hour tasks and you pay somebody else or you outsource other things.
It's
work your way up.
It's actually one of the things that we talked about again before we started the podcast, when you should do only what only you can do.
Yeah.
Right. So as a business owner, you should only be doing the things that you can't hand off to somebody else. Right. Like even with designing your own website, like you can hire someone to design the website. It might be more expensive than you're willing to pay. So at that point, you decide, all right, would I rather put 10 to 20 hours into designing this website on my own, or would I rather pay somebody? And sometimes it's not a matter of would I rather, because yes, I would rather somebody else do it for me,
right?
But I cannot afford that, or that may be the case. You might not be able to afford it. So like at that point, you have to suck it up and do it on your own. Right. But that's a thing, again, talking about priorities. Like the website is a priority. Mm-hmm. Right now, I cannot afford to do that on my own, to pay somebody else to do that. So I will have to do that on my own,
right?
And figure it out.
Social media,
get it done.
Because more people are probably going to do the social media first. As new business owners, the first thing I suggest is do not mess with your website until you've got your social media profile fixed and right. And we'll talk about that later, but you've got to get the social media time in, because that social media time is worth more than some of the other tasks that you're doing, right? Like, I genuinely believe go and sell your product before you even have made your product, right? When I first started doing the coaching, I was selling seats before I had the product I was going to coach and give.
That's different, though. I think for me,
well, you gotta go
I can't sell shoots without people seeing what my shoots look like.
You do have to have some portfolio,
right? And so for me, I had to do. Well, I didn't have to, but I chose to do the website first, because people will find me through my Facebook, but they will click on my website to see, because Facebook, it can be organized, but it's kind of hard to see pictures and stuff through that. It's easier to actually click on my website and to scroll through my website. It's nice and clean, and it's exactly how I want.
And you're an advanced photographer, right? You've done this for a while and you have the ability to do it. But I think, like, probably for somebody starting bootstrapping, they could create a Flickr account and say, hey, go to Flickr and check out my photos, right? Or go to Pinterest and check it out.
Instagram.
I
think would be
the place. So that's a platform that, and Facebook does have ways for people to contact you, and Instagram has ways for people to contact you to bring in the business. But eventually, you do want to get to the website. And I with you, I've personally developed 3 of my own websites. I find that time is more valuable because I'm industry specific. I know how to word things, but not everybody's going to be that good, and you may have to outsource that.
Well, that and we've gone to numerous trainings which have discussed website design specifically in terms of how, like, to build ClickFunnels and what information should be where and how to do things like that. Where a lot of web designers,
they just know how to make them,
are artists,
right? They're artists,
and they're not necessarily
like that's focused. Like me. Yeah. I can make my website look good, but once it comes down to anything else besides that, I'm like, oh, Josh, I need help with these things, Yeah.
And that's something very important point you guys brought up. You work with each other, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you're an artist, you have the ability to make it look good, but then you're a business person. You're like, this has to function. I've had so many artists hit me up on my website, be like, "Oh, dude, your website looks cheesy," and it just looks like a cheesy website.
You're not wrong, but it's functional as hell.
I have to agree with them. I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right. But then I tell them how much it's making me every single day because it's super simple and it's a funnel. Just, hey, this is what we do. This is how you pay me, and boom,
you can have both. You can have both.
And I have 3 websites, right? I have one that's just for content, just for one of the businesses. I have another one that's more get to know me, all the different pieces. But the link that I send out, I promote, is the one that's boom, straight to business. If you Google me, you'll get the other ones. But a straight to business link, you got to have that. And if I was to say build any of them, I'd say build the business link first. Build the ClickFunnel. Like, if ClickFunnel is something functional for your business, build that one. If you're a real estate agent, I would say go to OnCarrot and build the OnCarrot site because it gives you the IDX, which you'll learn what that is when you Google it. But it allows you to bring in business through that landing page. Those are quick websites, industry specific. But you have a website that you use, WordPress, I think, that you use.
We use WordPress.
But as far as time management, though.
Time management.
Oh my God, thank you.
Hold on, sir.
I got you, buddy.
Thank you.
But time management is like the key to making a profit.
Yes.
It truly is because, like, for example, in my shoes, I have like really big jobs, like jobs that'll take like 3 to 4 weeks to do, but I also have other projects that'll take like 2 or 3 days. So what I'll do is, because I pay my guys travel, so I send them to the bigger jobs, right? And so they're there for 8 to 10 hours a day while I run around and do all the little stuff. Because, if I have them do the little stuff, they get a lot of windshield time. So they're driving. I'm paying them not only mileage on their vehicle, I'm paying them to sit behind a wheel and drive an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. And then, like, they get there, they're exhausted already from driving. Right. And they're like, what am I even doing here? Like, this is kind of stupid. You know what I mean? They rather do the bigger stuff. And the bigger stuff are good. But, however, the smaller stuff pays quick.
Yeah.
The bigger stuff takes longer to pay, but when the bigger stuff, when the checks come in for the bigger stuff, it's well worth it. Plus, the bigger stuff, you have work for your guys.
Right.
Like, I know that I'm covered for the next, 2 months because I have bigger projects. Like, I'm not worried about, when am I going to send them today? You know what I mean? Those jobs are always there. But if you don't schedule it right, you're going to lose money.
Right.
And it's going to end up costing you money. So I would rather take the hit, drive a little longer, and do whatever the case may be, and do those little jobs while they just stay there all day. I pay them to travel for one job, and that's it. Like, you know what I mean?
Nice.
So time management is huge. And also,
it's skill set. You're managing your skill sets.
it is.
Yeah.
And another thing, too, is you can't double book yourself. And if you do that, you're going to piss people off, man.
It's true.
Let me tell you, I do that. Because people especially contractors, they want it done right now, ASAP.
Yep.
Yeah, I can do that on Thursday. And I'm like, wait a minute.
No.
Like, hate to be that guy, but I got to bump you. And I'm like, what the? You know what I mean? So you got to sometimes it sucks and they don't want to hear the truth, but this is what it is. They understand you're busy, but you have to bump them out another day or two, or a week in some cases. But you just got to be honest with them. Like, that's another thing in time management. You just got to know what you have. You got to know your schedule. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, it's again priority management because
literally
you've got to learn to say no. Like you've got to get good at be like, I cannot do it in that time frame, and then you get good at negotiating, and you say, well, I can do it next week.
Yeah. Or if they can, it's with all due respect, you can, if you have to do someone else, that's fine.
Right.
And that gives another opportunity for networking because then you can refer a buddy. Because
those buddies you refer may work for you one day. So
exactly. Or if I need to steal one of their guys, or I need somewhere for my guys to go for a day or two while in between jobs, can use them. Yeah. So a lot of people see other companies as competition in the industry, but really shouldn't.
It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, right. I know. I'm on good terms with a lot of my friends. A lot of other plumbing companies, I should say. But
who are your friends?
They're friends. Yeah, they're friends. Now they're friends. But it doesn't have to be like this cutthroat industry.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And it's because you're looking at life as, how do I win? And to win, you have to help a bunch of people.
Exactly. And that's what
if that's your priority, then you're able to put your guys on the right jobs. You're able to schedule things the right way. And
everyone makes money.
Right. Then you know where to push things to the guys you're going through. Yeah, thanks for saving the topic, man.
Yeah, that's it. So websites, I'm like, oh boy,
we could dive into that.
Yeah,
that's a whole different. Yeah.
But that's actually a thing too, because there's so much stuff. For instance, with me, I have so many hobbies, and I have businesses and side businesses and writing and all these other things. And then a girlfriend. God, she's a trip. And then
and the other girlfriend.
And then the other one. I was talking about the other one. Oh, sorry. And then there's and then there's the different instruments that I play, and I want to make a music YouTube channel and then make sure I'm publishing my books, and there's so many things that I want to do outside of my own business.
Absolutely.
Right? So at that point, I've come up with this concept of scheduling, I don't know if you
Google Calendar is amazing.
Yeah.
I literally like schedule my days almost to the minute. Like it's very close to the
White space
minute.
is deadly.
It is.
White
If you don't,
space is
if
deadly.
you aren't like even with my projects, right? If I have a project that comes in and it's like I know it's going to take me
What do
8
you mean a
hours.
project?
Sorry for I do CAD drafting.
Mhm.
So as a side business, so if I have a CAD drafting project that comes in, and I know it's going to take me 8 hours, I'm like instead of spending like I say like today I had slated actually a good example. This thing came in on Friday and I haven't touched it yet.
They do CAD drafting in the Philippines. Found it on Fiverr the other day. Fascinating. I'm just saying.
That is fascinating. We're gonna have to talk about that,
Yeah,
but
that's
after.
$5 for an hour's worth of work. It's insane.
But yeah, so I have to. I've come up with this thing that I need to be like, all right, I know I have that 8-hour project to do. I'll schedule that later this week because right now, like I've slated 3 hours this day to write, and I'm going to write for 3 hours today. Like there's nothing that's going to stop me
Goes
from
back to
doing
the
that.
goals that you set.
Right. Again, that's bouncing back. So having those goals, but then also having a schedule to help you manage your time. Because if you're not planning it, it's not going to happen. And it's the same thing with goals. If I'm not like, all right, I want to write a book. Okay, I need to sit down and write it. This is how much time it's going to take me to write it, you guess. And then be like, all right, this is how much I need to put into it. How often can I afford to put this much into it? How many days a week can I put 3 hours aside to write to make sure that I get this thing that's going to be valuable to me both personally but also monetarily
That's the
and
reason
for the business.
it becomes valuable to you. Like it's a priority because it's valuable to you, and that gets ranked somewhere within income from the business, building the future business that you really want your whole life to be based around. Putting that time aside and making it a priority over, hey, did I just go out and spend time with friends? Not to say that spending time with friends isn't valuable, but as your priorities change, as you become more focused on it's time management, it's priority management, and hitting your goals, your friends will change. We spend a lot of time together. We're not the same friends we grew up with. I love all my friends from my childhood, but I spend more time with you guys building businesses because like we're all doing the same thing. We're all having the same conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like, all right, let's do this more often because it's priority. We're not taking away from each other. We're adding to what's priority to you.
That's the thing. Adding
So your
value
time's
to
more
each other's
valuable.
lives. That's why these meetings aren't. It's there is value to it because even though we're talking about like right now we're talking about and we're giving advice to our audience, our listeners, our viewers. It's still valuable to us just to refresh ourselves because we have all this information. Like this is stuff that we all know and we do, but sometimes we're like, oh yeah, I do need to get back to that.
That's all the time for me. I'm thinking about the old meetings that we used to have at the gym.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I forgot about all that information and I wish it was recorded so I can go back and I can listen to it again because I know every time we'd have a meeting, be like, oh, all these things and I need to do this and I have such good ideas in my head, but then, time passes and it's replaced with other things and I forget about those things. So
because there's so much involved, and that's why Walter will say it 1,000 times especially when we start talking about books. But like listen to the same book over and over and over again.
Yeah, or listen to the same podcast over and over again.
Over and over
listen
over
to
again.
it when you're sitting down with a notebook and you can actively work on a laptop or a computer instead of just driving and you're just sitting there driving and you're thinking about all these things and then you get to your destination and then you're distracted and you're like, crap.
That's a funny thing too because I'll be listening to a book and they'll say something that's super relevant, especially like to something that's happening now, and I'm like, all right, how can I take that information and make that work in my business? And then like 25 minutes later, I tune back into the audiobook and I'm like, uh-oh. I've missed a number of things.
That's the reason it's hard for me to listen to those kind of books. That's something I would have to read so I can write things down and go back.
But it's again just getting back to time management and writing things down when you're done because you're like, all right. And even now, just having this conversation, I'm like, that's right. Like I need to get back to that because I used to have habits that have like fallen off because I've been like, all right, I have this habit. That's a good habit, but I need to build this habit. So I start building that habit and totally forget about the other habit. And now I'm like, now I got to do that habit again. It's like
you've been, and I know Josh for sure has studied NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. You only have 5 to 7 chunks that you can use at any given time, give or take 2. And if your chunks are focused on building something until it becomes unconscionably consciousness, like you just do it unconsciously, you have to focus a chunk on building that habit. Now, once it becomes a true 100% habit, now you don't have to think about it anymore. It's subconscious.
Right.
But in those beginning phases, you can only build so many of those at a time. You have to choose the one that if I do this one, what is the one habit I can work on that'll make everything else easier? And then you work on that one first.
Talking about the one thing.
The one thing. Yeah. Phenomenal book.
It is.
Right? And then I was just thinking,
what is the one thing?
Such that by doing it, everything else is easier or unnecessary.
Huh.
It's a focus question, right?
Makes sense, right?
Phenomenal
book.
And that was written by Gary Keller. The book that I was just thinking of as you were talking about time management and everything is not only the 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss, phenomenal when he talks about VAs and stuff, but this book called A Whole New Mind. I can't remember who wrote it, but this book was given to me by a guy I was talking to, and what he said, the author says, we're no longer in the industrial age, obviously. You know, you can't just go to work and get a pension. And we're no longer in the information age. This may come as a shock, right? Because everybody's like, oh no, the internet's still there. We're in what's called a conceptual age. Because people don't buy a toaster based on it toasting anymore. They buy it based on the fact that it's in the kitchen for 95% of the time. It has to be aesthetically pleasing, right? We're now in a conceptual age. People don't just buy real estate agents, right? I train real estate agents. People don't just buy the guy who can close houses. They buy the person that makes them feel warm and fuzzy. The person that is the fun person to work with. The person that maybe has a holistic approach on life. That's the person they work with. And they're like, oh, I want to work with that one. I want to work with the best. My slogan, always work with the best, right? Well, it just makes you feel good, right? And it's conceptual age. And we're in now a conceptual age where tasks that used to be high-value tasks like graphic design, like writing, even creative writing, like those are tasks. I told you, I hired a transcriber. Remember a while back, a year ago, I hired a transcriber. It cost me $100 for like an hour worth of transcription. I just had a whole bunch of my videos transcribed for $5. 30 minutes of full content video transcribed for $5. It no longer makes sense to have a normal person that I know go and do these transcriptions. The graphic design, I had my logo and all that stuff, $5, Fiverr.com, right? It's actually $7. It's 5 plus 2. But now your time is more valuable. Right, so make sure you're not spending time learning things that somebody else already knows how to do, that specialized left brain activity, which is specific. Creative stuff, symphony, when you're taking pieces, adding them together, that's what you as an entrepreneur belong working on, is high value stuff. I'm the only one who could do this. That's the stuff. And if anybody else could be hired, pass that out.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Time.
On that note, we are about 8 minutes over. So we almost recorded a whole other podcast. So to close out this episode, I want you guys to sit down, think about the things that you have to do, think about your goals, and really set timelines for them. Set an actual physical time for it and break down how you're going to accomplish that. Schedule it out if you need to make sure that you're actually accomplishing those goals. You'll find that is the best way to make sure that you're actually reaching them. And with that said, this concludes episode 10 of the Super Profit Friends podcast. Thank you guys very much for hanging out with us. And she's getting up already.
Oh, man. I'm pretty sure it stopped recording.
And goodbye. Be awesome.
Management.
Yeah, it's